Hello, everybody. And yes, my panel is joining me. And we have a very, well, I think it's an exciting topic. Even I was a little bit irritated in the beginning when we were deciding on it because it's kind of strange to talk about innovation that is not yet completed and that's still in development. But of course it's important because a standstill would be fatal for everything. We covered quite a few different aspects of this issue before, so that now we are trying to kind of wrap it up in a way and see and come to some essentials. Well, I don't think I really need to make much ado about the people that are with me, because I said Jimmy, I'm sure everybody knows, and also Monte, yeah, and Vasilisa, of course. Congratulations for your newly acquired citizenship.
Thank you.
And yes, let's come to Jimmy, because you're one of the very early blockchain adopters in 2011, I think, if I remember right.
Approximately.
So where are we standing in the Web3 process now? And is it enough innovation or too much innovation?
Sure. Let's start by just recapping what I think Web3 is. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. It emerged from the ability of blockchain to provide a distributed, published record of events in history that are timestamped, whether they be a payment, Bitcoin, your identity information, or any type of content or data. Web 1 was the first versions or phase of the internet where we just, as an audience member, were passive viewers, readers of static websites. Web 2 emerged with the advent of user-generated content, YouTube, social media like Facebook, where instead of just reading content that was published to you, you as a user started contributing to the content, to the data that is rapidly exchanged across the internet. However, in the Web 2 world, we still depend on intermediaries, such as YouTube, Facebook, and their servers, to store the data and the content that you create and contribute and license to them under their terms of use. And therefore, if you get deplatformed, like Donald Trump did on Twitter a few years ago, if you didn't download and archive your data, it's lost to you. And it's difficult for other services to access. For example, the content you post on Twitter cannot be easily accessed on Facebook, right? They don't share the same database. They're data siloed. So Web3 emerged with the advent of blockchain to say, hey, we could create a more user-centric, user-activated version of the internet where the data transactions, whether they be payments or all this content we're creating, you have more control over because it's written to the blockchain. And these services that are like social media services are merely an interface to the content and data you put on the blockchain, and all of the services can pull from the same source. Your picture, so I don't have to upload a picture from today to 4 different social media apps, which takes time. Your identity, so that you don't have to have 4 different login sets of information for different services. And blockchain is critical to be the infrastructure to that, to create a world where you have more control, ownership, and the ability to monetize this data. So that's what I believe Web3 is. Where we are, it's like where we are in metaverse. There is no real Web3 yet. There is no real metaverse yet. We have taken baby steps to it because not enough data is on blockchain right now. Most of the blockchains have not scaled enough. They're not easy enough applications to allow you to, for example, have a blockchain-based place to store your identity information so that Twitter can access it, Facebook can access it, YouTube can access it. That doesn't really exist yet. Same thing with content. There's not an easy way to put your content on data and have it read and interfaced by different internet services. A lot of people are talking about creating those things, and I've seen a lot of development of applications, including companies I'm involved with. But I think we're at the baby steps to it because it starts with this first question. How do we make it easy for you as a user to get this data about your identity or your content to a blockchain where you write to the blockchain and allow other services to read from the blockchain what you own, control, and monetize?
Well, I think there are also other problems that really are keeping us away from a full metaverse yet.
Yes.
I like the idea of the meta idea, but I also think that
Yeah,
there's
meta
still
ID,
ID, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's still a very long way to
Correct.
get there because
That's-
also because people don't like to change a running system, and
Correct.
this resilience is
Yeah.
one of the problems for it.
But having a blockchain mechanism to store and control your identification, your ID information, is critical to a future of Web3. And all of this doesn't work unless the services, whether it be Amazon, Google, whatever, can authenticate that's you, right? Where they can verify it's you, and therefore you associate you to all this content that you're creating and generating and sharing through services across the world, and allowing other people peer-to-peer to interact with my content without an intermediary like Facebook in the middle deciding, or Spotify if I'm a music artist and I upload my song file to the blockchain. You know, I want to be able to allow you, Dieter, to pay me a micropayment for the download, right, or for the stream of it without, let's say, Spotify in the middle. So having your identity confirmed cryptographically on a blockchain and managed, plus the ability to upload and share content through different internet services, whether they be a picture on Instagram, a music file, a written legal contract that I want to share, and having the payment mechanisms between blockchain wallets to exchange all those payments peer-to-peer without intermediaries in the middle. That requires getting all this onto the blockchain in the first place.
Jimmy, I really love you talking about the future.
Yeah.
Montse, you have a dedicated technology background. You have a degree in engineering.
Yeah.
So how did that influence your approach towards the metaverse and the Web3? And where are we in your opinion, in this process?
Yes, in my opinion, from the IT point of view, this is an evolution, no? We always think it's an evolution. The only thing is that every time that you are working more and more, imagine, no, with the 5G, we have been coming to the 5G because we did the 1G, the 2G, but the 2.3, the 2.5, the 2.9. So this is all incremental, and depending on who is programming, who is involved in this, and how much knowledge we have on technology. So this is for me the big, when you ask what are the drivers for building the metaverse, it will be the people, talent. So how many people right now can understand lines of code? How many understand the evolution of hardware? Because this is all about that, no? About having digital identity, but where are going to be residing all this data, in which hardware, from who will be the hardware, which is the ownership of this hardware. So from my point of view, I think that we have been evolving quite good from the very beginning when we started to work with computers to now. We have these things every time, little and little more. But also in terms of blockchain, we have been understanding the evolution of networks. So, and now the protocols from the last generation of networks of blockchain are much more secure. So we evolve on what is the cybersecurity, but also in this interface, what we are talking about digital identity. If I have a wallet in my phone, still is my phone. What does mean? Still I have my wallet and other things. So how that is going to evolve to a single thing that will be wearing, maybe I will wear that thing, and that thing will allow me to enter to this metaverse. No? And it's going to be a phone, or it's going to be another thing. I mean, smartphone, of course, but maybe the technology is moving us to another space that is the phygital. No? It's really, maybe we will be wearing sensors, and the metaverse will be just be here, but projecting people and moving to other spaces. So that, for me, is still a lot to do.
I think that the true metaverse we will experience when we can interlock with our brain directly, because everything is stored there already, and then we don't need to create all these massive new data flows and stuff. But I think that we are still very far away from that.
Not really very far away. The last studies on neuroscience and also brain links, no, still has been working on brain connections. And for me, what is interesting about blockchain is how that is going to be converging with AI and all this knowledge we are having with how our mind is working, no? And our brain in this case. But
There's already a
it's there.
number of companies in this new field of BCI, brain-computer interface.
I'm not talking
designing
about
exactly
Musk.
that.
He's already taking applications to getting your chip implanted. I don't know if that really will be the way, because I think people will be really resilient to that. But okay, that's a different issue. Vasilisa, I mean, you're another person that doesn't need no introduction. And yeah, I know you as a perfect networker, and I think that networking is key to create a culture of innovation and to bring people to discuss new ideas, to come up with new ideas. And you have this new concept here with the festival and conference. What I like very much, because it gives a completely different flow to create ideas and to talk with people. So what is your experience with it, and where is networking going, and what do you think will networking do for a culture of innovation?
Well, I mean, you're very right. So people innovating in a different way. Some of them, they don't need anybody. They just close themselves down in the room or in the garage or whatever, and they create something amazing. They're genius people. Some of them need to interact with the others, where the truth is born out of the consensus of the different opinions, different approaches. But at the same time, even if you're working with a team or you're working alone, eventually you need to go out to the world and say, hey, I'm doing this, and validate your idea with the people. Any event, any meetup, any way you go out is important that you have the feedback of the world, because unless what happening in Web3 a lot, it's like a pot inside of itself. People are saying, oh, I think that we're gonna create this amazing product, and we put it on the blockchain and whatever, but you're like, does the industry which you are doing for needs that? Does it make their life actually easier? Or it makes it more complicated because people need to change the systems, whatever, and the reward for all that is not clear. It's like, okay, I have my data on blockchain. How do I benefit from that? So first, you can create your idea, very draft, and then go and talk to people in the industry, if it's automotive, if it's whatever, a food production, agriculture, event production. It's like, even in my experience, people sometimes come to me and say, hey, we can do the pop-ups or whatever for your event. People can download that. I'm like, well, you can do that. I don't mind. But what is the actual benefit? Is it really something people need? Or it's just a lot of digital trash, sorry to say that, we are creating, which nobody actually needs. So let's be more to the point. But another part, which I just wanted to say, what was said about the AI is very interesting to me, is because we are right now, sometimes when you go online, you don't know if what you read is written by a physical person who actually have a brain, have a soul, or it's a machine learning experience, AI, who analyzed everything and now writing on Twitter thousands of tweets, I don't know, for good or for bad. So here in the event, you definitely know to whom you're speaking. In this event, in any other event, right? It's not a promotion. It's about, guys, be very careful online right now. And the more we go with the metaverse, with AI and Web3, wow, we're entering into a very interesting world where we're literally the border between the artificial intelligence and human intelligence will be more and more blurry. I wouldn't be surprised, like in a few years, when there's more or less proper metaverse, AI products, AI people, like this. We had Sergi speaking here about the human realistic, absolutely realistic avatars, right? And then you will be doing, I don't know, getting for dates with these kind of avatars online, because you just like them more than the real people. So,
well, I was approached by one of these honey trap things. You get confronted always over social media, and just for fun, I was picking up the conversation, and this was very one-dimensional. And though very quickly I realized This was actually a avatar talking that tried to convince me in a certain direction. So it's already starting for sure, and the way these things are developing, though, it will become a lot harder to cope with that. But before we pick up on or go deeper into that issue, because the impact on our societies surely is something we also should discuss here. Jimmy, let's look at AI, and well, AI will become much more capable, and with the age of quantum computing at our door, will increase the speed dramatically. So, what roadmap do you predict?
I'm sorry?
What roadmap do you predict for the development of Web3?
With AI?
Well, AI and all the other issues that...
Well, as I mentioned, I think we have to first have companies, hopefully some bright entrepreneurs out there and watching this video at some point, to build products that create the building blocks to true Web3. For example, someone needs to create an application or product that makes it easier to place identity information, let's say on a blockchain, be able to allow you to supplement that because people move, they change addresses, they get married, they change names, someone passes away, somebody else therefore takes control of their identity, and have that associated in data tree structures so that you can be constantly amending the identity information. You also need a mechanism to be able to associate a blockchain-based ID to many forms of content and assets that you might own or control, like NFTs, a music file, a poem or book that you write that you want to monetize through the blockchain. And then you also need people to create tools and mechanisms to allow the protection of privacy, especially in jurisdictions like the United States, Europe. You know, as a former lawyer and privacy professional, I know the importance of maintaining encryption and privacy mechanisms because you can't put PII directly on blockchain. So there's this tension of having all this identity information using blockchain with the fact that blockchains are public. And there are solutions that need to be built. So I think in terms of the journey and roadmap of getting to Web3, it takes bright entrepreneurs making products that solve some of those problems so that it's easier for all of us as users across the world to have ID managed on blockchain, and then have our ID be immediately accessible through the browsers we use, right? Because then you want to also attach that to blockchain wallets so that you can pay through the browser, so that you can have the browser pull up your NFT or your other asset. All of this linking is necessary. So I think that's really important. I think AI will contribute to that in many ways and will speed up the process. In fact, one of the other companies I'm involved with that I did not talk about yesterday is an AI infrastructure business, trying to be almost like the AWS of artificial intelligence by providing mechanisms that increase the speed and efficiency of LLM computation to dramatic degrees to make all of this all faster. And we believe that will serve the advancement of a lot of these Web3 functionalities. But I think the roadmap, I'm very pragmatic. I have big visions for what this all can do. But I, having lived the whole journey of the internet era, which is when I started my professional career as a lawyer in the mid-90s, see how long it takes. And it took the building blocks to make everything about the internet operate faster. So if you really believe in a world of Web3 and you see this big roadmap to all this great excitement in the future, which I think is possible in our lifetimes, help us all by thinking about what building blocks you can contribute to in your ventures or businesses that allow this more easier control, writing to the blockchain and reading from the blockchain the key aspects you want to be able to transact with as a user peer-to-peer with someone else.
Well, same question to you, Monse. Maybe you can add something that Jimmy hasn't covered yet.
Yeah, no, I'm very thinking on what you were saying, Vasilis and Jimmy. It's about people. This is about all of us, how we like to live and what we need to use. I always say that when I studied telecommunication, in Greek, no, tele means very far away. So we are communicating with very far away other humans in this moment. because we use the video and we have some technology for that. But the moment that we can have this experience as we were present in the same space is better. I insist on communicating is 7% is words. Like 33% more or less is the voice, how we send that words, but mostly is human body. So you communicate with all your presence. And if we break this barrier of the screens and we go to something more physical, that will be, as Vasilisa was saying, more interaction between humans. And we will, for doing that, we will need AI just to help us on how we do it. So this is what we need to be very challenging, no? And this is where blockchain makes sense. Where blockchain makes sense is to really, really trust what you are training or what you are using to make your AI system to learn. So if and this is one of the main issues on AI, is quality of data. If your data is learning, if you are having data that is not trustable, that is very old, that is not good enough for the nowadays, of course you are training a machine that is not intelligent a lot, or at all. Both, neither possible. For example, nowadays GPT is having hallucinations, a lot of hallucination, of course, because it needs a lot of data, and this data needs to be very well done and with a lot of quality. And this is what I think is where the connection between blockchain and AI makes sense. Let's try to train these large systems with some trustable data.
Verified data.
And verified data. And for that, as Jimmy was saying, we need identifiers. We need to be sure that the data is coming from a source, and this source is identified. This is blockchain. And this is where we need to make together blockchain and AI go at the same pace. And that's very difficult, and as Jamie was saying, we need everybody to work on that.
Well, now let's move, open it up a little and go to the society side, not only the business side. We are used very much to think in these innovation terms, and we are used to the cycles. Outside our little cotton ball, it's completely different. Vasilisa, what can we do? How can we? Is there a chance? Because when ChatGPT was introduced, people were shocked, and it wasn't really so much new that was confronted there. But for the first time, that a wider community was getting aware of it. So I think to get the spirit of innovation into a wider context, into the society, will be one of our huge challenges. So what do you think, Vasilisa? How can that be done? Not in a B2B conference.
No, I mean, the thing is, it's all about education. I mean, from the start, from the first days of your life, the life of our kids will be so different from ours. It's not anymore about learning the basics. The whole human race was developing in a certain way, right? Before, let's say in 16th century, the maximum you can learn until you become an adult, whatever, is probably how to know Latin or Greek. Well, if you have the access to education, whatever scientific thing you have at that time, that the Earth is probably round, and things like this. So it's a very little information which you're learning. Right now, kids in school, like even us, you have so much information put into your heads, and it's not about just what information now we're receiving. It's also about teaching the kids what they can do with that. So, and thinking beyond, because very often, even the teachers, they are not even capable of thinking ahead themselves, so that they cannot help the kids to grow in that direction this way. They're very standardized. We have a program, we have to read this, we have to do this mathematical thingy, and nothing more. No, guys. Yes, you do. Of course, there is basics. Basics are basics. You have to know how to read, you have to count, or whatever, and the general thing. But think beyond. Think beyond thinking out of the box. This is where it starts. To innovate this is, again, when we're talking about in generations, what we can do right now is the same. It's educating. Educating people who come in for the conferences, who are just curious in the internet. And more than that, guys, it's just because, again, going back to what was Monse discussing, yes, we have to verify information. ChatGPT have a lot of flaws. You're asking for the references, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I did it wrong, but you have to keep in mind that sometimes the links he is using or whatever the information he's perceiving is not correct from the beginning. And one more thing which I really wanted just to touch base, because we still have a little bit of time, is that, guys, we are here, we're discussing the Web3, the beautiful world and everything which we can build, but please always keep your eye on what is happening in the real world, what is happening in the politics, what is happening in the economy of our countries, of our cities, of the entire world which we are sharing, because people here are very global. They are very open-minded. They believe that they live in one world, which I adore, this vision. But when we go outside to the street, it's not like this exactly. So we need to remember that while we are working for decentralization, while we are working for like verified information, no censorship, outside, very opposite things are happening. Things are getting censored. You cannot find trustful information. You cannot trust the television, the news, the articles which are generated by AI, and they just want to support certain view. Doesn't matter, good or bad, whatever. I'm not saying that everybody doing this, every single government of every single country right now. So be very careful and think that we not just have to work together, we have to be conscious about what's going on there, and we need to impact somehow that outer world.
Well, we definitely, and the other problem is that the wave is building up with quantum computing, with how the AI developing. The wave will become bigger and faster, and I think that's one of the big challenges, Monse, that we are faced with. So, what's your approach on how to handle that?
For me, and you are right, because and right now in quantum is amazing what is happening there, and it's a new frontier for sure of knowledge. So this is the key concept, knowledge. So when we talk about literacy, no, in the past, in the old times, it was to learn to write and to learn to speak properly was not for everybody. So we think in the history of the humanity, we have been learning little by little, and when you know something, that was making you to have a better life. So that's what we need to understand. If we are not able all together to go at the same pace that the knowledge on these technologies, we will we are having already a big gap, as Vasilisa was saying, between the ones who we can read or we can be in some type of understanding of some knowledge in digital, and the ones who are still without understanding how to use the mobile and get a wallet there. So, and nowadays there is more people who doesn't know how to get a wallet in a mobile phone and why they need a wallet in the mobile phone, no? So that is still to be a lot of doing in communication and networking. And this is what Vasilisa was highlighting, no? In quantum is the same, no? The other day I had a question about quantum computing. We keep saying quantum is too complex, we don't understand, nobody is going to understand that. If we keep saying that to everybody, it's not going to happen anything. No? If we still put barriers of, I don't know that because it's very complex, it's only for the physics, no? For a lot of engineers, it's a very complex understanding. That's not how we can make the people and everybody, humanity, learn how to be facing big challenge like the ones we have with the Sustainable Development Goals. So the idea is, quantum is okay, it's complex, but we are able, or we will be able, to understand all together if we put a little bit of emphasis that we need to innovate in the way of teaching and making clear concepts to all of us, no? And this is Jimmy, no? Who is a lawyer in privacy. So you started in internet, and right now you have no issues at all to talk about internet in a way of understanding privacy on internet. And this is something that means mixing knowledge. And this is what we need to explain everybody, no? That blockchain is not complex. Web3 is going to happen because all of us, we are going to need it. And of course, quantum is coming, and is coming fast. And this is the challenge.
Okay, half an hour is really going over very fast. So a last short statement from each of you. When will we have our primary existence in Web3?
When, for me, I think we still need 10 years, imagine. I'm not very optimistic on that because this is this barrier of literacy. We need to make people understand from the very beginning what does mean web still.
Jimmy?
I think that's about right, 5 to 10 years, but I will disagree with my panelists somewhat about everyone always talks about education is necessary to see this revolution happen. The rest of the world does not care about how Web3, blockchain, or any of this works. They just want to see it work. So my best advice to everyone in this room who believes in growing business in this area is to show, not tell. No one cares how it works underneath the hood. Go build a product where you say, here is my piece of content, instead of placing it in 5 different places in 5 different databases for Amazon, Google, Facebook, Twitter. I put it in one place on the blockchain, and each of us who are internet services, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Twitter, can access it from that one place. And I can then send the monetization of it to Vasilisa or Dieter anywhere in the world. When you build that product, people can see that it saves them time, makes them more money, because they can allow any internet interface, application, or browser to access from that one place. They will understand it without having to understand what Web3 really is.
Okay, Jimmy just secured his daily water supply.
Yes.
Vasilisa,
It's a water win.
One sentence, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I cannot say like if it's 5 or 10 years or whatever. And first of all, just to make sure that Jimmy, like when I was talking about education, I didn't mean that we have to educate people about their Web3, so they got all this stuff about the nodes, how the blockchain is working, the smart contract, whatever. No, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Build the product, and this is the crucial one. 5, 10 years, 15, I don't know. But there should be a moment like with AI when ChatGPT arrived. Suddenly, that was the moment for the boom of AI.
Because people could see it work.
Exactly, and it's easy, and you don't need to, it can be anywhere, anything from your phone, from your laptop, whatever. You don't need to know how AI works. I mean, it's vital to understand the limitations, to understand the basics, but you don't need to know the program behind. That's what have to happen to blockchain. There should be a project, a product, I don't know, which will be like a click. Yeah. And then, bam, we have it.
Okay, thank you. That was this panel, and you see, especially for me, this is really an issue very close to my heart, especially with the Diplomatic World Institute. Thanks to my panelists. Thanks to the audience for being interested in this. And yeah.
Thank you, Dieter, for having us.
Let's move to the next